Good morning. Nicole actually said good afternoon. We've been sitting for a while. I'm Margaret Honey, and I work with a company called Wireless Generation. And, the title of this session is Something Old, Something New. And before I sort of dive into the details of my presentation, I want to share an anecdote that comes from our collective past, and I can't resist doing it given who's in the room. So the year is 1985. I'm a young researcher. I have the pleasure of working with Sam Gibbon on the second voyage of the Mimi at Bank Street College of Education here in New York. And for those of you who remember, the second voyage was what in those days we called a mixed media program. It used video, computer software, and print. And in the case of the Mimi, was using those resources to engage kids in really meaningful mathematics and science learning. So the second voyage of the Mimi was all about archaeology, and it was about the ancient Maya. And the drama, the Mimi videos, were set around the theme of looting. And there were a group of archaeologists who were trying to find the lost city, Site U for unknown, right? And so I'm a young researcher. One of our research sites is in Debbie Meyer's Central Park East School over in East Harlem. There's a fabulous teacher there named Bruce Cans who has built an entire 5th, 6th grade curriculum around the ancient Maya. And Bruce gets in touch with us and persuades us, and thank God he did, to use his classroom as one of the research sites. So I was the lady who showed up every week with the rough cuts or with computer software or whatever. And I show up with one of the episodes. And in this episodes, the archaeologists are so unbelievably excited because they have found the clue to Site U. But the problem is, it's on a giant Maya stela that is like hundreds of feet underwater. And they have to figure out how to raise this, many thousand-pound artifact and get it off the floor of the ocean. And it's a very, very, very dramatic, compelling moment in the video when they figure out how to do that. What they end up doing is tying ropes onto the stela and taking garbage bags and inflating the bags with air from their tanks. And you see this thing rise to the surface, and the kids are completely riveted, just completely riveted. And of course, I leave, and I come back the next week, and Bruce comes over to me, and he goes, you've got to go talk to Jose. You've got to go ask him about what he did. So I went over to talk to Jose, and lo and behold, he had tried to recreate that entire scene in his bathtub, right? And, to this day, that really is sort of a gold standard for me about the power of media. And just a footnote, Sam would not fake that scene, and I think sort of annoyed the powers that be at Bank Street by going a bit over budget, right? But, but it was worth it. So, okay. So what does the research tell us about the kinds of skills and competencies that kids today need? Lisa mentioned her daughter, who is the class of 2020. Well, what does Lisa's daughter really need to be prepared to do? This graph comes from research that was carried out by Frank Levy, who's an economist at MIT, and Dick Murnane, who is on the faculty at Harvard's Graduate School of Education. And what it's showing is that in the sectors of the economy where there's real job growth, the kinds of skills that are required are expert thinking and complex communication. That's what those top two lines are telling us. In the areas where we see decline, it's those jobs that we can automate through the use of technologies, right? So think about toll booth attendants. They no longer exist. We have Easy Pass, right? Think about tax returns. Many of us use TurboTax, right? So there are hundreds and hundreds of examples of those kinds of things. So another way to think about this image is that the bottom part of the graph shows jobs that are being replaced by technologies, and the top part of the graph are illustrating growth sectors in the economy that require the inventive and creative use of technologies. Okay, the issue of assessment has come up a couple times today, and I put this up here because this is the framework that is being used in the 2009 NAEP reading assessment, and Marilyn Adams was very involved with this. It has her handprint all over it, and it is, the reason why I reference it is because it is absolutely a breakthrough framework. It is emphasizing the kinds of higher level cognitive targets that children need at the 4th grade, 8th grade, and 12th grade level. And the point here is that we cannot achieve these competencies. We cannot expect our children to achieve these competencies if we don't use, as several people have said, Susan and Bernie and others, well-designed digital resources. So now I'm going to give you the high-level 30-second tour through 3 of those interesting resources. The Dot News is being headed up by Dan Warner of McNeil Lehrer Productions. This is a news program that is being driven over the internet into high school classrooms. What's really cool about it is that kids have the power to use something called UEdit. Working with the existing programming, they can pull it apart, they can put it back together, and they can recreate their own narratives and their own sequences. Dan is here. You can talk to him further about it. Vital is a resource being created by WNET, Channel 13 here in New York. Again, using rich media, using video drawn from their extensive archives. What's interesting about this is that it links to New York State resources that feature both the standards and actual student assessment information. So if you're a teacher and you log into the New York State website, you can take a look at your class or a student's performance on the state test, and you can then drill down into the vital instructional activities and work with the materials they have online. And then finally, this is a new resource put out by CAST, and David Rose is here. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but this is work that they did in collaboration with the Google Literacy Project. These are what are called universally designed books that do a fabulous job of scaffolding and supporting reading experiences for children in ways that are incredibly powerful for learning. And I am told my time is up. Thank you very much.